A shattered compass spins wildly in a darkened manor, its needle locking onto a corpse. Welcome to the broken compass. Death points the way. A Hercule Poirot mystery where every tick of the clock pulls us closer to a killer. Grab a cup of tea, take a seat, and dive into the suspense. If you're hooked, hit subscribe. Your support means everything to us. Chapter 1. The Enigmatic Invitation. It's a chilly autumn evening in 1930s London, and Hercule Poirot, the famed Belgian detective, sits in his pristine Whitehaven Mansion's apartment, his sharp mind restless from a lack of cases. His little grey cells, as he calls them, crave a challenge. Then, a sharp knock at the door breaks the silence. It's Captain Hastings, his loyal friend, waving a cream-coloured envelope with a gleam in his eye. "Poirot, you've got to see this," he says, breathless. "It's from Sir Reginald Hargrove, that explorer who just got back from the Amazon. He's invited us to a dinner at his Sussex estate. Says it's urgent, a matter of life and death." Poirot's moustache twitches with curiosity as he slices open the envelope with precision. The note inside is brief but chilling. "Monsieur Poirot, the compass of fate is broken. Death points the way. Come quickly, before the needle stops." The words spark Poirot's interest. Vague yet ominous, the kind of puzzle he lives for. He agrees to go, and by morning he and Hastings are on a train rattling through the misty English countryside toward Hargrove Manor. Hastings fills the journey with tales of Sir Reginald's exploits, a fearless adventurer who braved jungles and deserts, recently returning with rumours of a priceless find. The man's latest obsession, Hastings says, is a mysterious compass, said to guide not just paths, but destinies. Poirot listens, his eyes narrowed, already sifting through possibilities. Why would a man like Hargrove, wealthy and celebrated, send such a cryptic summons? What danger lurks behind the invitation? As the train pulls into the Sussex station, the manor looms ahead, a Gothic sprawl of turrets and ivy, its windows glowing like watchful eyes in the dusk. The butler, Jenkins, greets them with a stiff bow, his face unreadable, but his gaze sharp, as if guarding a secret. Inside, the drawing-room buzzes with an eclectic mix of guests, each introduced with a flourish. There's Lady Amelia Hargrove, Sir Reginald's elegant but cold wife, her smile tight as she sips her martini. Dr. Elias Thorne, a rival explorer, glares at his host with barely concealed resentment. Miss Clara Voss, a young archaeologist and Hargrove's protégé, fidgets nervously, her eyes darting to the door. And Victor Lang, a slick financier who bankrolled Hargrove's last expedition, lounges with a smirk that doesn't reach his eyes. Poirot observes them all, noting the undercurrents of tension. Lady Amelia's fingers tightening on her glass, Thorne's stiff posture, a faint smudge of mud on Lang's polished shoe, odd for the dry gravel paths outside. Sir Reginald makes his entrance, a commanding figure with a weathered face and a flair for drama. He holds up an antique compass, its glass cracked, its needle frozen unnaturally toward the east wall. "This," he declares, "saved me in the Amazon, but now it's broken, and it warns of danger. Someone here wants me dead, perhaps for the treasure I found." The room goes quiet, glances shifting suspiciously. Poirot sips his tisane, his mind cataloguing every detail. The tremor in Clara's voice as she asks about the compass, the way Thorne's hand clenches at the word treasure. Dinner begins, a lavish spread of roast pheasant and fine wine, but the air crackles with unease. Hargrove regales the table with stories of his jungle adventure, how the compass led him to a hidden temple filled with gold relics worth a fortune. But before dessert, a blood-curdling scream echoes from the study. The guests rush in to find Sir Reginald slumped over his desk, a dagger buried in his back. In his hand, the broken compass, its needle now pointing directly at his lifeless body. Gasps fill the room. Hastings stammers, "Good Lord, Poirot, he's dead." Poirot kneels beside the body, his eyes scanning the scene, the open window, a faint scratch on the desk, the compass's eerie precision. Mon Dieu, he murmurs, the compass does not lie. Death has pointed the way, and we must follow. The murder sets the stage for a web of lies and secrets, with every guest a potential suspect. Who among them had the motive and the opportunity to kill? This opening chapter introduces our cast and the chilling crime at the heart of Hargrove Manor. The broken compass, a symbol of destiny gone awry, hints at deeper mysteries. What drove someone to murder Sir Reginald? And what does the compass truly reveal? Stick with us as we unravel the alibis and dig into the shadows of motive in the next chapter. Chapter 2. Shadows of Suspicion. The air in Hargrove Manor's study grows heavy with shock as the guests stand frozen around Sir Reginald's body, the broken compass still clutched in his lifeless hand. Hercule Poirot, his sharp eyes darting across the room, takes charge with a calm authority that cuts through the chaos. He instructs Jenkins, the butler, to seal the exits and summon the local police, but not before he has a chance to examine the scene. The study is a treasure trove of clues. Shelves lined with artifacts from Hargrove's expeditions, a half-burned cigar in an ashtray, and a faint scent of lavender lingering near the open window. Poirot's gaze lingers on the compass, its needle unmoving, as if mocking the disorder around it. The guests, still reeling, are ushered into the drawing room, their faces a mix of fear and distrust. As the fire crackles in the hearth, Poirot begins his inquiry, determined to unravel the threads of this deadly puzzle. He starts with Lady Amelia, whose composure is as brittle as the crystal glass she grips. Her emerald eyes flicker with defiance as she insists she was in the dining room when the scream rang out, discussing a charity gala with Clara Voss. Yet Poirot notes her silk scarf, slightly askew, and a faint smudge of ink on her fingers. Details that don't align with her polished demeanour. Next he turns to Dr. Elias Thorne, whose ruddy face betrays a simmering anger. Thorne claims he stepped outside for a cigarette during dinner, alone on the terrace, but his coat carries a whiff of damp earth, suggesting he ventured farther than he admits. Clara Voss, pale and trembling, says she was fetching a shawl from her room, but her hesitation when asked about her route raises Poirot's suspicions. Victor Lang, lounging with forced nonchalance, swears he was in the billiard room, practicing shots with Jenkins. The butler nods stiffly, confirming Lang's story, but his eyes avoid Poirot's piercing stare. As the police arrive, led by the gruff Inspector Grayson, Poirot shares his initial observations, keeping the compass's eerie behaviour to himself for now. Grayson, sceptical of the fancy foreigner, insists on treating the case as a straightforward robbery gone wrong, pointing to the open window and a missing gold statuette from Hargrove's collection. Poirot, however, disagrees, noting the precision of the dagger's strike and the absence of forced entry. "This was personal," he murmurs to Hastings, who hovers anxiously nearby. The inspector orders the guests to remain at the manor, and Poirot seizes the opportunity to explore the study further. He finds a hidden drawer in Hargrove's desk, containing a crumpled letter addressed to Clara. It reads, "The compass knows the truth. Guard it, or all is lost." The ink is fresh, the handwriting Hargrove's own. Poirot tucks the letter into his pocket, his mind racing. Back in the drawing room, tensions boil over. Lady Amelia accuses Thorne of jealousy over her husband's success, her voice sharp as a blade. Thorne snaps back, hinting at Hargrove's questionable ethics in the jungle, sparking a heated exchange. Clara, usually reserved, interjects with a shaky plea for calm, but her eyes dart to Lang, who smirks faintly. Poirot watches this interplay, noting how each guest deflects blame while revealing slivers of their own secrets. He decides to probe deeper into the compass's significance, recalling Hargrove's dinner tale of a temple guardian who cursed anyone who misused its power. Could the artifact itself be the key to the murder? As the night deepens, Poirot and Hastings retire to a guest room, the manor's creaking halls echoing with unease. Poirot sits by a flickering lamp, sketching a mental map of motives: greed, revenge, betrayal. The compass, he muses, is more than a relic. It's a beacon to the killer's intent. With the police focused on the wrong trail, it's up to him to follow where death points next. The mystery tightens its grip, and the shadows of suspicion grow longer, setting the stage for the secrets about to unravel. Chapter 3. The Compass's Curse. The manor's clock chimes midnight, its sombre toll echoing through the dimly lit halls as Hercule Poirot sits by the guest room's window, the crumpled letter from Hargrove's desk in his hand. The words, "The compass knows the truth. Guard it or all is lost," pulse in his mind, a riddle wrapped in urgency. Outside, the Sussex wind howls, rattling the panes, as if the manor itself guards its secrets. Hastings, pacing nervously, mutters about the eerie compass and its frozen needle. Poirot, ever composed, silences him with a raised hand. "The compass, mon ami, is not merely broken, it speaks. We must listen." Determined to uncover its meaning, Poirot resolves to investigate the artifact's history and its connection to the murder. But first, he needs to test the alibis against the manor's labyrinthine layout. He begins by mapping the house in his mind, recalling the dining room's proximity to the study and the terrace's access to the garden. With Jenkins' reluctant permission, Poirot explores the manor's ground floor, lantern in hand. The study's open window catches his eye again. No signs of forced entry, but a faint trail of mud leads to the garden path. Following it, he finds a trampled flower bed beneath the window, the soil disturbed as if someone stood there recently. The mud matches the smudge on Victor Lang's shoe, but Poirot notes the prints are too small for a man's boots. A woman, perhaps? His suspicions deepen as he returns inside, passing a locked door to the library, which Jenkins claims is rarely used. A quick examination reveals fresh scratches on the lock, suggesting someone tampered with it recently. Back in the drawing room, the guests remain under Inspector Grayson's watch, their nerves fraying. Poirot decides to probe Clara Voss, whose nervous demeanour and connection to Hargrove's letter intrigue him. He finds her alone by the fireplace, clutching a locket. Gently, he asks about her work with Hargrove. She hesitates, then reveals she helped catalogue his Amazon finds, including the compass, which Hargrove believed was cursed by a temple guardian. "He said it chose its owner," she whispers, "and punished those who betrayed it." Her voice cracks, and Poirot notices her locket bears an inscription in a strange script, similar to symbols on the compass. When pressed, she claims it's a family heirloom, but her eyes betray fear. Next, Poirot corners Dr. Thorne in the conservatory, where the explorer is nursing a brandy. Thorne, bristling at the questioning, admits he and Hargrove clashed over a lost expedition years ago, where Hargrove claimed credit for Thorne's discoveries. "He was a thief," Thorne spits, "but I didn't kill him." Yet Poirot spots a torn cuff on Thorne's sleeve, as if caught on something sharp, perhaps the study's window frame. The detective files this away, his mind turning to Lady Amelia. He finds her in the parlour, writing a letter, her ink-stained fingers trembling slightly. She dismisses any involvement, claiming devotion to her husband, but Poirot senses her words are rehearsed, her grief performative. As dawn breaks, Poirot gathers everyone in the dining room to recreate the night's timeline. He paces the route from the dining room to the study, timing each guest's alleged movements. Clara's story of fetching her shawl doesn't add up. The upstairs corridor is too far for her to have returned so quickly. Lang's billiard game with Jenkins holds, but the butler's stiff posture suggests he's hiding something. Poirot then reveals the letter to the group, watching their reactions. Clara gasps, Thorne's jaw tightens, and Lady Amelia's pen freezes mid-stroke. The compass, still in the study under police guard, seems to loom over them all, its curse a whisper in the room. Poirot concludes the session with a warning. The truth is near, mes amis, and the compass will guide us to it. With alibis crumbling and new clues emerging, the manor feels like a pressure cooker. The cursed compass, the tampered lock, and the mysterious letter point to a deeper conspiracy. Who stood in the flower bed, and what lies behind the library's locked door? The trail of death grows clearer, leading Poirot closer to the heart of the mystery. Chapter 4. The Library's Secret. The pale light of dawn creeps through Hargrove Manor's heavy curtains, casting long shadows across the dining room where the guests sit in uneasy silence, their eyes flickering with suspicion. Hercule Poirot, his posture immaculate despite the sleepless night, sips a cup of coffee, his mind a whirl of connections. Clara's locket, Thorne's torn cuff, the scratched library lock, the broken compass, now locked in Inspector Grayson's evidence case, seems to pulse with secrets yet untold. Poirot's little grey cells hum as he fixates on the library door, its tampered lock a beacon in the maze of clues. Determined to uncover what it hides, he excuses himself, citing a need for fresh air, but instead slips toward the locked door, Hastings trailing reluctantly behind. With a hairpin borrowed from a distracted maid, Poirot deftly picks the lock, the faint click echoing in the silent corridor. The library opens to reveal a dusty, cavernous room, its shelves groaning with leather-bound tomes and artifacts from Hargrove's travels. A mahogany desk sits in the corner, its surface cluttered with maps and journals. Poirot's keen eyes spot a faint outline in the dust, a rectangular shape, as if a book or box was recently removed. Searching further, he finds a hidden panel behind a shelf, revealing a small safe. The lock is modern, unyielding, but a scrap of paper wedged in the hinge catches his attention. It bears a single word in Hargrove's scrawl: betrayal. Poirot pockets it, his mind racing. Betrayal by whom? Returning to the guests, Poirot shifts his focus to Victor Lang, whose smug demeanour and muddy shoes linger in his suspicions. He finds Lang in the billiard room, idly rolling a cue ball, and questions him about his ties to Hargrove. Lang admits he funded the Amazon expedition, but claims it was purely business, expecting a share of the temple's gold. Hargrove was cagey about the profits, Lang says, his eyes narrowing, said the compass was worth more than the gold. Poirot notes Lang's gold cufflink, engraved with a symbol matching Clara's locket, and presses him on it. Lang brushes it off as a coincidence, but his fingers twitch nervously. Next, Poirot seeks out Jenkins, the butler, whose guarded silence feels like a wall. In the pantry, surrounded by gleaming silver, Jenkins admits he overheard Hargrove arguing with someone the night before the dinner behind the library door. The voices were hushed, but Jenkins caught the word curse and a mention of a missing map. He swears he didn't see who it was, but his hesitation suggests loyalty or fear. Poirot, sensing a crack in Jenkins's facade, decides to test the group's reactions again. He gathers them in the library, revealing the tampered lock and the word betrayal from the safe. Lady Amelia's face pales, and Thorne shifts uncomfortably, while Clara clutches her locket tighter. As the group disperses, Poirot lingers, examining Hargrove's journals. One entry, dated weeks ago, describes the compass's discovery in the Amazon temple alongside a warning: the Guardian's curse binds the compass to its keeper. Betray its purpose, and death follows. Another page mentions a map, hidden for safety, that pinpoints the temple's location. Poirot deduces the missing map might be what the killer sought, and the safe's contents could hold the key. He resolves to crack it, but not before confronting Clara about her locket's symbols, which he now suspects linked to the temple's guardians. The manor's atmosphere grows claustrophobic, each guest a shadow in a web of deceit. The libraries, secrets, betrayal, a hidden safe, a missing map, point to a motive tied to Hargrove's treasure. As Poirot closes the journal, a faint creak from the hallway snaps his attention. Someone is watching. The compass's curse looms larger, and the truth draws closer, hidden just beyond the next locked door. Chapter 5. The Locket's Tale. The faint creak in the hallway fades, but Hercule Poirot's senses remain razor-sharp as he stands in the dusty library, Hargrove's journal still open before him. The word betrayal from the safe and the temple symbols on Clara's locket gnaw at his mind, pulling him toward a deeper truth. The manor hums with tension, its walls seeming to whisper of hidden motives. Poirot decides to confront Clara about her locket, sensing it holds a key to the compass's curse and Hargrove's murder. As the morning sun filters through the library's stained glass windows, casting kaleidoscopic patterns on the floor, he sets out to find her, determined to unravel the connection between her locket and the deadly artifact. Poirot locates Clara in the conservatory, where she sits among exotic plants, her fingers nervously tracing the locket's edges. Her eyes widen as he approaches, his calm demeanor belying the intensity of his purpose. "Mademoiselle Voss," he begins softly, "your locket bears symbols akin to those on the compass. This is no coincidence, n'est-ce pas?" Clara's breath catches, and after a moment's hesitation, she confesses. "The locket," she says, "was a gift from Hargrove, given during their work in the Amazon. It bears the mark of the temple's guardians, a secret society sworn to protect the compass. Sir Reginald said it was a token of trust," she murmurs, "but also a warning. The compass's curse falls on those who seek its power for greed." Poirot notes her trembling hands, sensing she's withholding more, but he presses gently, storing her words for later scrutiny. Shifting his focus, Poirot seeks out Lady Amelia, whose ink-stained fingers and rehearsed grief still linger in his suspicions. He finds her in the morning room, sorting through Hargrove's papers, her movements hurried. When questioned about the locket's symbols, she claims ignorance, but her eyes flicker toward a photograph on the mantel, a faded image of Hargrove and a younger Clara in jungle gear, the locket visible around her neck. Poirot probes further, asking about Hargrove's final days. Lady Amelia admits he was paranoid, locking himself in the library to study the compass and muttering about betrayal. "He thought someone was after the map," she says, her voice tight. Poirot notices a torn corner of paper in her hand, its edge matching the journal's missing page, but she slips it into her sleeve before he can inquire. Returning to the library, Poirot enlists Hastings to help search for the missing map. They comb through Hargrove's journals, finding sketches of the Amazon temple and cryptic notes about a guardian's oath. One passage hints at a second compass, a twin to the broken one, hidden somewhere in the manor. The idea electrifies Poirot. Could the killer have sought this twin artifact? His search is interrupted by Inspector Grayson, who reports a new discovery: a blood-stained glove in the garden, near the trampled flower bed. The glove is small, embroidered with a delicate A, pointing to Lady Amelia. Grayson is ready to arrest her, but Poirot urges caution, suspecting the glove is too convenient, perhaps planted to mislead. As evening falls, Poirot gathers the guests in the drawing room to discuss the glove. Lady Amelia denies ownership, her face flushed, while Thorne accuses her of staging her grief. Lang remains silent, but his gaze lingers on Clara, who avoids his eyes. Poirot, watching closely, announces the existence of the twin compass, watching for reactions. Clara's fingers tighten on her locket, and Jenkins drops a tray, his composure cracking. The room crackles with unspoken accusations, and Poirot knows the truth is close. The locket's tale has revealed a guardian's oath and a hidden artifact, but the glove and the missing map deepen the mystery. Someone in the manor is playing a dangerous game, and Poirot must find the twin compass before the curse claims another life. Chapter 6. The Twin Compass. The drawing room's tension lingers like a storm cloud as the guests disperse, their wary glances betraying unspoken fears. Hercule Poirot, his mind alight with the revelation of a twin compass, feels the puzzle tightening around him. The blood-stained glove, the guardian's oath, and the missing map all point to a conspiracy rooted in Hargrove's Amazon treasure. The manor's oppressive silence, broken only by the distant howl of the wind, urges Poirot to act swiftly. He resolves to find the twin compass, suspecting it holds the key to the killer's motive. With Hastings at his side, he returns to the library, where the hidden safe and Hargrove's journals promise answers, if only he can unlock them. Poirot examines the safe again, its modern lock a challenge even for his nimble fingers. He recalls Hargrove's cryptic note about betrayal and the journal's mention of a twin compass, described as a mirror to the broken one, hidden where the heart of the manor beats. Puzzling over the phrase, Poirot surveys the library, his eyes landing on a grandfather clock in the corner, its steady tick like a heartbeat. With Hastings' help, he pries open the clock's base, revealing a velvet-lined compartment. Inside lies a second compass, identical to the first but intact, its needle spinning erratically before settling on a northern point. Poirot's moustache twitches. Unlike the broken compass, this one seems alive, almost sentient. He pockets the twin compass and turns to the journals, searching for clues about its purpose. A faded entry catches his eye, written in Hargrove's hand. The twin compass guides not to treasure, but to truth. It reveals the betrayer's heart. The words suggest the artifact has a supernatural edge, or at least Hargrove believed so. Poirot, ever skeptical of curses, suspects a more earthly explanation. Perhaps a mechanism within the compass points to a specific location or person. He tests it, holding it flat in the library, and watches as the needle swings toward the east wing, where the guest rooms lie. Intrigued, he decides to follow its lead, but not before questioning Dr. Thorne, whose torn cuff and bitter history with Hargrove make him a prime suspect. Poirot finds Thorne in the smoking room, staring moodily at a map of the Amazon. When confronted about the twin compass, Thorne's eyes flash with recognition, but he denies knowing its whereabouts, insisting his feud with Hargrove was old news. "I wanted credit, not his life," he growls, but Poirot notices a faint burn mark on his hand, as if from handling a hot object, like a cigar left in the study's ashtray. Filing this away, Poirot moves to the east wing, the twin compass in hand. The needle guides him to a guest room, Clara's, where he finds her packing a suitcase, her face pale. She freezes as Poirot reveals the compass, its needle pointing directly at her. "Mademoiselle," he says, "this compass accuses. What truth do you hide?" Clara stammers, claiming ignorance. But Poirot spots a folded map peeking from her bag, its edges torn like the journal's missing page. Before he can press further, a shout echoes from downstairs. Jenkins, frantic, reports a fire in the study. Rushing to the scene, Poirot finds Inspector Grayson dousing smouldering papers, the broken compass untouched on the desk. The fire was deliberate, set to destroy evidence, but the culprit fled. Poirot's gaze sweeps the guests, now gathered in the hall, each face a mask of guilt or fear. The twin compass, warm in his pocket, seems to pulse, urging him toward the east wing's secrets. The fire, the map, and Clara's panic tighten the noose around the truth, but someone is desperate to keep it buried. Chapter 7. Flames of Deception. The acrid smell of smoke lingers in Hargrove Manor's study, where charred papers lie scattered across the floor, the broken compass still gleaming on the desk. Hercule Poirot, his keen eyes scanning the wreckage, knows the fire was no accident. It was a desperate act to bury the truth. The twin compass, tucked safely in his pocket, hums with purpose, its needle still pointing toward the east wing and Clara's room. The torn map in her bag, Thorn's burn mark, and the planted glove swirl in Poirot's mind, forming a mosaic of deceit. With the guests now huddled in the hall, their faces taut with fear, Poirot senses the killer is growing reckless. He must act quickly to unmask the culprit before the trail goes cold. Poirot begins by examining the study's remains, sifting through the ashes with Hastings' help. Among the debris, he finds a partially burned photograph, its edges curled but revealing a group of explorers in the Amazon, Hargrove at the center, Clara at his side, and a shadowy figure in the background, whose face is obscured. The back bears a scrawled note, "The oath binds us all." Poirot's suspicions deepen. Could this group be the temple's guardians? And is one of them the betrayer? He pockets the photograph, determined to confront Clara about the map in her possession. Heading to the east wing, he finds her door ajar, her suitcase gone. A quick search reveals a hidden panel under her bed, empty except for a single gold coin etched with the same symbols as her locket. Tracking Clara to the conservatory, Poirot finds her pacing, her eyes wild with panic. He holds up the coin and she freezes. "Mademoiselle, the map and this coin, explain!" he demands, his voice firm but calm. Clara breaks, tears streaming, and confesses she took the map from Hargrove's desk to protect it. He said the twin compass and the map together could lead to the temple's heart, she whispers. But someone else wanted it, someone who knew its value. She swears she didn't kill Hargrove, but refuses to name her suspect, her gaze darting toward the hall where Victor Lang lingers. Poirot notes the fear in her eyes, suspecting she's protecting, or fearing, someone close. Turning his attention to Lang, Poirot corners him in the billiard room, where the financier is polishing his cue with feigned calm. Poirot reveals the twin compass, watching Lang's smirk falter. "You funded Hargrove's expedition," Poirot says, "but did you also seek the temple's secrets?" Lang laughs, admitting he wanted the gold but denying murder. Yet Poirot notices a faint scar on Lang's wrist, matching the shape of the temple's symbol, suggesting a deeper connection to the Guardians. Before he can press further, Inspector Grayson interrupts, announcing a new clue. A burned matchstick found near the study, engraved with the initials E.T., pointing to Dr. Thorne. Poirot gathers the guests in the dining room, revealing the photograph and the matchstick. Thorne, flushed with anger, admits to smoking in the study but swears he left before the fire. Lady Amelia, her composure cracking, accuses Thorne of sabotage, while Jenkins shifts uncomfortably, his eyes on the floor. Poirot, holding the twin compass, notices its needle quiver, now pointing toward the staircase leading to the attic. The clue is subtle but undeniable. The truth lies above. As the guests argue, Poirot slips away, determined to follow the compass's lead. The fire has destroyed much, but the photograph, coin, and Clara's confession tighten the web. The attic beckons, and with it, the promise of a revelation that could unmask the killer. Chapter 8. Attic Revelations. The dining room erupts into a cacophony of accusations as Hercule Poirot slips unnoticed through a side door, the twin compass in his palm guiding him like an invisible thread toward the staircase. The needle holds steady, pointing upward to the attic, a part of Hargrove Manor that has remained unexplored amid the chaos below. The air grows mustier as Poirot ascends the narrow, creaking steps, each one groaning under his careful footfall, as if the house itself protests his intrusion. Hastings, having followed at a discreet distance, joins him at the landing, his face etched with worry. "Poirot, are you sure about this? The compass could be leading us into a trap," he whispers. But Poirot silences him with a gesture, his eyes gleaming with the thrill of the hunt. The attic door, warped with age, yields with a reluctant squeak, revealing a dim expanse cluttered with forgotten relics, trunks covered in dust, faded portraits leaning against walls, and cobwebs draping like veils over Hargrove's past adventures. Poirot holds the twin compass aloft, watching its needle swing decisively toward a far corner, where a large oak chest sits shrouded in shadows. The chest is locked, but Poirot's practiced hands make short work of it using a small tool from his pocket, a remnant from his days in the Belgian police. Inside, layers of old expedition gear give way to a bundle of documents, yellowed with time but preserved in a leather folder. The topmost paper is a contract, signed by Hargrove and Victor Lang, detailing the funding for the Amazon trip, but with clauses that reveal Lang's demand for exclusive rights to any discoveries, including the compass. Poirot's brow furrows as he reads further. Hargrove had amended the contract in secret, voiding Lang's claim and bequeathing the artifacts to Clara Voss, whom he described as his true successor. A motive emerges: Lang's greed, thwarted by Hargrove's last-minute change. Deeper in the bundle, Poirot uncovers a series of letters exchanged between Hargrove and Dr. Thorne, their tone escalating from professional rivalry to outright threats. One letter from Thorne accuses Hargrove of stealing artifacts from a shared expedition, demanding restitution or exposure. Hargrove's reply is defiant, mentioning the compass's curse as protection against thieves like you. Poirot notes the date, mere days before the dinner party, and spots a pressed flower tucked between the pages, its petals matching the lavender scent he detected in the study on the night of the murder. The flower, dried and fragile, crumbles slightly in his hand, releasing a faint aroma that confirms his suspicion. Someone had been in the attic recently, perhaps retrieving or hiding these documents. As Poirot sifts through more items, he finds a small diary, its entries penned in Lady Amelia's elegant script. The pages reveal her growing resentment toward her husband's obsessions, detailing late-night arguments about his foolish jungle trinkets and his favoritism toward Clara, whom she suspected of being more than a protégée. One entry stands out. Reginald plans to rewrite his will, leaving everything to that girl. I won't stand for it. Betrayal must be met with justice. The word betrayal echoes the scrap from the safe, linking Lady Amelia directly to the library's secrets. Poirot's mind races, piecing together her ink-stained fingers and the planted glove. Perhaps her grief was a facade, masking a calculated plan to frame others while securing her inheritance. Hastings, rummaging nearby, uncovers a dusty box containing Amazon souvenirs, including a dagger identical to the one found in Hargrove's back. The blade is clean, but its handle bears faint engravings matching the temple symbols. "Look at this, Poirot," Hastings exclaims, holding it up. Poirot examines it closely, noting a residue of oil on the hilt, fresh, as if recently handled. This twin dagger suggests the murder weapon was part of Hargrove's collection, accessible to anyone familiar with the attic. The compass in his pocket vibrates slightly, its needle now shifting toward the west, back toward the main house, as if urging him to connect this find to the suspects below. Descending the stairs with the evidence in tow, Poirot re-enters the fray, where Inspector Grayson is attempting to restore order amid the guests' bickering. Poirot interrupts with a dramatic flourish, revealing the contract, letters, diary, and dagger. The room falls silent as eyes widen in shock. Lang's face drains of colour at the sight of the amended contract, while Thorne stammers denials about the threatening letters. Lady Amelia clutches her necklace, her eyes darting to the diary in horror. Clara, however, steps forward, her voice steady for the first time. "Those documents prove Sir Reginald trusted me, but I never wanted his fortune, only to honour the Guardian's oath." Jenkins, standing in the corner, averts his gaze, his hands trembling slightly, hinting at his own hidden role in the manor's secrets. Poirot, orchestrating the moment, holds the twin compass high, explaining its mechanism. Not a curse, but a clever magnetic device tuned to hidden markers in the manor, placed by Hargrove to guard his treasures. The needle's movements, he reveals, were manipulated by proximity to metallic objects, like the gold coin or the dagger's engravings, explaining its eerie behavior. The revelations shake the group, exposing layers of deceit, Lang's financial desperation, Thorne's vengeful grudge, Lady Amelia's jealousy, and Clara's protective silence. Yet Poirot senses the puzzle is incomplete. Jenkins' unease and the lavender scent suggest a final twist lurking in the shadows. The attic's revelations have stripped away facades, laying bare motives and hidden artifacts that tie the suspects in a knot of betrayal. But as the twin compass steadies once more, pointing toward an unexpected direction, Poirot knows the climax approaches, with the killer's identity teetering on the brink of exposure. Chapter 9. The web tightens. The air in Hargrove Manor crackles with unease as Hercule Poirot stands in the dining room, the twin compass in one hand, the damning evidence from the attic, contract, letters, diary, and dagger, arrayed before the stunned guests. Their faces, illuminated by the flickering chandelier, betray a mix of guilt, fear, and defiance. The lavender scent, the twin dagger, and Jenkins' trembling hands linger in Poirot's mind, each a thread in the intricate web of deceit. The twin compass, its needle now steady, points toward the west wing, where the servants' quarters lie. A new direction that stirs Poirot's suspicions about Jenkins, the silent butler who has hovered at the edges of the mystery. With the killer's desperation evident in the study's fire, Poirot knows time is short. He must untangle the final clues before the truth slips away. Poirot begins by addressing Jenkins, whose rigid posture and averted gaze betray more than his words. In the quiet of the pantry, away from the others, Poirot questions him about the lavender scent and his presence near the library the night before Hargrove's death. Jenkins, his voice low, admits to tending a lavender bush in the garden, a habit to calm his nerves, but denies entering the attic. Yet Poirot notices a faint oil stain on Jenkins' cuff, matching the residue on the twin dagger. Pressed further, Jenkins reveals he overheard Hargrove arguing with Lady Amelia in the library, not about Clara, but about a secret buyer for the compass, a shadowy figure offering millions to possess it. Jenkins claims ignorance of the buyer's identity, but his eyes flicker with fear, suggesting he knows more than he admits. Returning to the west wing, Poirot follows the compass's needle to Jenkins' sparse room, where a locked drawer yields a hidden ledger. The pages detail payments from an anonymous source, marked only as the collector, funneled through Victor Lang's accounts to Hargrove for artifacts, including the compass. The ledger confirms Lang's deeper involvement, but a coded entry hints at Jenkins acting as a go-between, delivering messages between Hargrove and the collector. Poirot's mind races. Could Jenkins have betrayed Hargrove to protect his own interests? The compass, reacting to a metal key in the drawer, quivers slightly, reinforcing its role as a guide to hidden truths. Poirot shifts his focus to Lady Amelia, whose diary revealed her fury at Hargrove's plan to rewrite his will. He finds her in the parlour, her hands clasped tightly, and confronts her about the argument Jenkins overheard. She admits to confronting Hargrove about selling the compass, fearing it would bankrupt their estate, but insists she loved him despite their strife. Her voice wavers as she mentions the collector, claiming Hargrove refused to name them, only saying they were closer than you think. Poirot notes her hesitation, suspecting she knows the buyer's identity, or is protecting them. To test his theory, Poirot gathers the guests in the drawing room, revealing the ledger and the existence of the collector. Lang's composure cracks, his fingers drumming nervously, while Thorne scoffs, dismissing the idea as Hargrove's fantasy. Clara, clutching her locket, whispers that Hargrove feared the collector's influence, believing they manipulated the compass's curse for their own ends. Poirot, observing their reactions, orchestrates a final test. He places the twin compass on the table, watching its needle spin wildly before settling on Jenkins. The butler gasps, backing away, as Poirot declares, The compass accuses, monsieur, but it is your actions that will confess. Before Jenkins can respond, a crash echoes from the west wing, a window shattered, footsteps fading into the night. Rushing to the scene, Poirot finds a rope dangling from Jenkins' window, the ledger gone. The butler, now trembling, swears he didn't flee, but the evidence points to a desperate escape attempt or a diversion. The web of deception tightens, with the collector's shadow looming over Lang, Jenkins, and Lady Amelia. The twin compass, unwavering in its direction, urges Poirot toward a final confrontation, where the killer's mask will fall at last. Chapter 10. The Needle's Truth. The shattered window in the west wing gapes like a wound in Hargrove Manor's facade, the night wind whipping through as Hercule Poirot stands amid the chaos, the twin compass steady in his hand. Footsteps have faded into the misty Sussex countryside, but Poirot knows the ledger's theft is no escape. It's a final, frantic ploy in a game that's reached its end. Inspector Grayson seals the room, his men scouring the grounds, while the guests huddle in the drawing room, their faces pale masks under the gas lamps. Hastings paces anxiously, but Poirot's little grey cells are ablaze, every clue aligning like stars in a constellation. The lavender scent, the oil-stained dagger, the magnetic compasses, the attic documents, Clara's locket, the planted glove, the fire, and now the collector's ledger. Mon ami, Poirot murmurs to Hastings. The needle points not just north but to justice. Gather them all. We end this tonight. With the manor locked down and dawn's grey light creeping in, Poirot assembles everyone in the study, the scene of the crime now a stage for revelation. The broken compass sits on the desk beside its twin, both artifacts silent witnesses. Lady Amelia sits rigidly, her hands folded. Dr. Thorne glowers from a corner. Clara clutches her locket, eyes red from tears. Victor Lang lounges with forced ease, his smirk strained. And Jenkins, dishevelled from the window incident, stands meekly by the door. Inspector Grayson flanks Poirot, notebook ready as the detective begins, his voice calm and precise, drawing them into the web's centre. Mesdames et messieurs, Poirot starts, pacing slowly. This tale began with a broken compass, clutched in Sir Reginald Hargrove's hand, its needle pointing to death. But it was no curse from an Amazon temple. It was a clever device, magnetic, tuned by Hargrove himself to react to hidden markers in the manor. Metallic engravings on daggers, coins, even keys. The twin found in the clock was its counterpart, guiding to truths Hargrove buried. The curse was superstition, amplified by Hargrove's theatrical flair to protect his secrets. But murder? That was all too human, driven by greed, betrayal, and a shadowy figure known as the collector. He holds up the crumpled letter from the desk, the one to Clara. Sir Reginald summoned me because he sensed danger. The compass broke because someone tampered with it, cracking the glass to stage a warning. But the real threat was the collector, who coveted the artifacts not for adventure, but profit. Victor Lang, you funded the expedition, but your contract, found in the attic, was amended. Hargrove cut you out, bequeathing everything to Clara Voss, his true heir in knowledge and oath. Lang shifts, his eyes narrowing, but Poirot continues unrelenting. You, Monsieur Lang, are the collector. The ledger from Jenkins' room details your payments, funneled anonymously to buy the compass and map. You scarred your wrist in the jungle, marking yourself with the temple symbol to infiltrate the Guardian's trust, a scar matching Clara's locket engraving. You manipulated events, using your billiard alibi with Jenkins to slip away. The mud on your shoes, from the flower bed outside the study window, where small prints were found, no, not a woman's, but yours, disguised by altered boots you discarded in the garden, recovered by Grayson's men moments ago. Gasps ripple through the room. Lang protests, but Poirot silences him with the burned matchstick. Dr. Thorne, your initials E.T. on this match seem damning. but it was planted during the fire you didn't start. Your torn cuff and burn mark, from a clumsy attempt to search the study earlier, clashing with Hargrove over stolen credit. You threatened him in letters, yes, but your motive was pride, not murder. The pressed lavender flower in those letters. From the garden, but not yours. Jenkins tended the bushes. Thorn exhales, relief mixing with anger, as Poirot turns to Lady Amelia. Madame, your diary exposed your jealousy. Hargrove's favouritism toward Clara, whom you suspected as his lover, and his plan to sell to the collector, bankrupting you. The blood-stained glove with A, yours but planted by the killer to frame you after you argued in the library, overheard by Jenkins. Your ink-stained fingers, from forging a note to lure Hargrove to the study. But you didn't kill him. Your grief, though masked, is real. The torn page from your sleeve matched the map Clara held, which you stole briefly to decipher, then returned in panic. Lady Amelia nods faintly, tears welling, as Clara speaks up softly. Sir Reginald was like a father to me. The locket was his trust, the map a guide to the temple's heart, a location worth fortunes in relics. I took it to protect it, not steal. The gold coin under my bed, a token from the Guardians, hidden there by Hargrove himself. Poirot's gaze finally settles on Jenkins, the butler who has served silently. And you, monsieur, the linchpin. Your oil-stained cuff matches the twin dagger from the attic, used to stab Hargrove after the real murder weapon was swapped. You overheard everything, delivered messages for Lang, the collector, lured by promises of wealth after years of loyal service unrewarded. The lavender scent in the study, your calming sachets dropped in haste. You set the fire to destroy the journals, shattered the window to stage an escape and retrieve the ledger. But it was you who climbed the rope, your room, your desperation. Jenkins crumbles, collapsing to his knees. It was Lang's plan, he confesses, voice breaking. He promised me a share if I helped. Hargrove discovered my spying, threatened to expose me. Lang provided the dagger from the attic. I struck during dinner's chaos, entering via the window while Lang covered with the billiard game. The compass in Hargrove's hand. I broke it to mimic the curse, pointing it to confuse. The glove, the matchstick, diversions to scatter blame. Lang lunges forward, fury in his eyes, but Grayson's men restrain him. You fool! Lang snarls at Jenkins. You were just a pawn. Poirot nods solemnly. Indeed, Lang orchestrated it all. Funding turned to obsession, betrayal of the oath he faked with his scar. He used the magnetic markers to make the compasses point accusingly. Knowing Hargrove's superstitions would amplify the fear. The scream, Clara's, discovering the body after Jenkins fled. All alibis crumbled under timing. Thorn on the terrace, Amelia in the parlour, Clara upstairs. But the window and dagger tied it to insiders like you, Jenkins. Manipulated by Lang. The room falls silent as Grayson cuffs Jenkins and Lang, the manor's shadows lifting with the rising sun. Clara weeps quietly. Thorn mutters apologies, and Lady Amelia stares into the distance. Hastings claps Poirot on the back. Brilliant, old chap. Poirot adjusts his moustache, modest as ever. The little grey cells, they do not lie. The broken compass pointed to death, but the twin revealed the way to truth. And so, justice prevails. With the arrests made and secrets laid bare, Hargrove Manor's curse dissolves into mere myth. The artifacts will go to museums, Clara honouring her mentor's legacy, and Poirot departs for London, another puzzle solved. But remember, in every mystery, the needle of truth always finds its mark. And there we have it, folks. The thrilling conclusion to The Broken Compass. Death points the way. If this Hercule Poirot tale kept you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button, subscribe for more mystery scripts and stories, and comment below, who did you suspect was the killer? Your support means a lot to us. Thanks for joining the adventure.